All right, so what we're gonna do is some palpation assessment. We'll start out with the video a ways so you can see my setup, and then we'll have you come up close so that you can see what's going on with stuff. So I always have to put a body mechanics issue into this. In my opinion, everybody's got their table kind of too low. Did you make any adjustment with your table height?
I have in certain scenarios, but it's a work in progress.
Yeah. You don't want to be all spread out, and you don't want to be all bent over. And people say, oh, I can't get pressure. Well, yeah, you can. You just don't know how to do it like that. And so you stress and strain yourselves a little bit. And that's one of those pervasive issues that we've got. So, but not our topic, but I have to talk about it anyway. Okay, so this is a typical client laying on a typical massage table with a typical back. And I'm getting ready to demonstrate the process of a typical massage. And I would have a drape here. I'd bring the drape down. And I would, before I get the lotion on, if I remember, I want to do some palpation assessment and some observation. And so one of the things that we want to take a look at is what my fingertips can identify, which is hot, cold, wet, dry, rough, smooth. So this hand's cold, but it won't be after I put it on you. So while I am getting the sheets set around and I'm getting myself set up here, I'll break it apart for you. I'll show you what it looks like to begin with, and I'll break it into its pieces. I want to do a surface kind of an assessment along through here. When you assess, you're assessing comparison. Is this hot in relationship to this being cold? Is this high in relationship to this being low? Is this sticky in relationship to this being more dry? So you're not going to get as much with one hand on it as you get with two across through here. So what I picked up on here for this particular assessment is that this is warmer and stickier in here, and we'll practice that. That's immediately going to give me a more narrow focus. Then I have to decide, does this fit in with his outcome, which we didn't determine because you're just being a body for demonstration. So, but that would get my attention. I wouldn't do a thing about it, just get my attention. So the next thing I would do is I would have my hands kind of glued to the skin. Now I'm looking for the slide in the superficial fascia, deep fascia interface. There should be a slide in through there. So this doesn't slide as well either. And so then I might look to see if it's got a skin fold lift, and it doesn't lift as well either. And so I've got this area right here in this initial palpation that kind of says, hey, look at me, there's something going on here. That would prompt me maybe to ask a question if I hadn't gotten to it already. So has this been a target area for you in here at all?
I tend to feel pain and such, or discomfort on the left-hand side.
On this side of it.
But that makes a lot of sense, what you've...
Yeah, and this is what I'm seeing, terrain, which I can catch in an observation. This side is a little higher than that side, and I have no clue why. So, and that's okay that I don't know why. But maybe if this is related to the goals, it's worth exploring. Is this resourceful compensation or not? If there were an acute injury in the area or something, and I wanted to decide in general if I should even work on the area, there is a simple assessment that you can do. The area, the target area, let's say this right in through here. Let's say he had a bruise. Somebody, you were playing dodgeball and somebody hit you in the back with a ball or something. And I'm not sure that it can handle an adaptation. It happened 2 days ago. What you do is you press into it just until you get a sensation. And then you say, I'm just gonna hold that for about 10 seconds right in there, and you tell me if it stays the same, gets worse, or diminishes. So let's say he says it gets worse. Well then, obviously, you don't work in that area. What if he says it stays the same? You probably still don't work in that area. What if he says that it diminishes? Then it's probably far along in what it's doing that I can start to do some work in the area. So that's checking for acute, subacute inflammation. So if it hurts more, you've really still got quite an acute inflammatory response going. If it stays the same, it's transitional, and then if it starts to get a little better, then it's probably starting to move into the subacute phase. So I think that's a safety thing with that. I also notice when I'm doing that, this kind of surface stuff, are there any moles or discoloration or anything like that that I need to pay attention to? And that could indicate a referral. So that's the initial assessment stuff that I do in through here. Now, people want to dive right in and they want to go, how do you fix it? What's wrong? What do I do? I don't know. I haven't figured it out enough to know what's going on with it. So what I am going to do at this point then is go more into my general massage approach, and it's got a little bit more pressure into it. I'm down more in the muscle layer here, first muscle layer, and I would say, let me know if you feel a sensation of any kind. And then if you do, kind of a focused thing, if you do, let me know if that's familiar.
You just went through it and it is familiar.
Okay, it feels familiar over there.
All the way you just were.
So let's and I sort of did things a little backwards, which is okay. That means he did not die. So he did not die and I did things backwards. You want to assess the non-affected side first. So we'll come through here. Broad strokes. You're in the muscle layer now. Let me know if you feel anything sharp, pokey, increased in intensity, anything like that.
Right there.
Right here.
I'm feeling it on the opposite side.
All right. And is that familiar?
Yeah.
All right. Because if you press on anything hard enough, it will hurt. Mm-hmm. Have you ever done that with a client and then they say, well, it hurts, it must be something? Well, you probably pressed on it too hard or pokey or something, and that's why it hurt. So don't fix what's not broke. All right.
And then sort of as you're coming in from the lower section, it's the same thing I'm feeling.
Over here on this side. Describe the pressure that I am giving you in relationship to other pressure that you've had before.
Firm, and it's not pokey, it's broad. Yeah.
Is it firm?
Yeah, definitely firm, but not ridiculous. It doesn't feel like you're attempting to press as such. It feels just good pressure.
All right, so I could make that be more. Did you feel that?
Yeah.
I'm not sure that that's even more satisfying, but some people like a firmness, a squash, but not this. Okay, not, all right, so.
Very different.
Yeah, all right. So what would I do? My God, I got to do an intervention before we finish this, or people are going to not be satisfied, right? So I'm going to go back over here on this side. He poked to a spot right here a couple of 3 times, said there was some referral to that. And I'm going to see if I can find it again. Tell me when I'm on it. See, it might have changed already.
I think it already has.
Yeah. Anything there, maybe?
Yeah, there's a bit, yeah.
Right there?
Sort of coming into it. Yeah.
All right. So this is called, I'm now doing an intervention. This is called inhibitory pressure. You're on a spot, those of you that like knots and spots and stuff. I'm on a spot that's familiar. I'm just at where it creates the sensation, and I'm leaning on it for a few seconds. That's the intervention, and then away I go. Another thing that I could have done in that area is go back to the superficial fascia skin, and this is called a direct-indirect method. Get the spot right in my hand, right there, then move the superficial tissue around and see where it moves the most and where it moves the least, and go back and forth into that. So hold it where it moves the least, and then hold it where it moves the most. And then back and forth. Now I forget, so I just make nice big circles around it. Can you explain what that feels like?
Yeah, it's you do feel sort of a tugging, but it's that you're treating the same spot. Like I can feel it, but in a completely different manner.
Now, if we were following Dr. Chadow's approach, I would do this first. In the massage world, people wouldn't believe that that's doing anything. So I might start out with something like this first. Now that may feel different in there. Maybe another little spot right there. And then this is the intervention. Just hanging out. Now there's more. I could have him turn his head. It's going to change the alignment of the tissue. Now that is inhibitory pressure plus movement. I could have you turn your head back and forth. All right. So let's, as we're progressing with this, let's really understand the simplicity of these interventions and not get caught up on how complex other people might make them. So, okay.